So there's a lot of answers to this question, and so I'll try to be brief. I've always known that I wanted to be a teacher ever since I was a little girl, and I think it just boils down to English teachers specifically in my life, and the impact they had on me as a person. And in short, I just believe in the power of words and the power of ideas, and that teaching students how to think and not what to think makes them powerful versions of their own self. And so I think that, empowering those students to be the best versions of themselves in turn empowers the whole world. And so that's my answer for why I teach.
To be honest, teaching wasn't my first choice. Initially, I didn't want to. I knew I loved English, but I knew that teaching was a hard profession. I had seen it in my own school, and so I kind of fell into it. I think I've always been meant to be a teacher, but I kind of resisted it almost, and I fell into this position. And looking back now, I feel like it's kind of providential. But I started working at a community college, and I worked with adult students, so students that were. My youngest student was 28 at that time. I was 22. My oldest student was 50, and I worked with them on math, remedial math. And I've never liked math or doing math in it, but I had so much fun helping them just understand the basic concepts of Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. They were really inspirational students to me because a lot of them were working full time at the hospital that I was at, and they were very thankful to be getting help. I also realized that there's this need, especially in urban communities, because this was an urban community, of getting education right the first time. One would hope that our high school students would leave high school having all the skills they need in math and reading and writing, but this wasn't the case for these people. And so it was two things. I really loved working with the students, and number two, I realized that there was a need, and I felt like I had the ability to help teach, and so that's how I fell into it. And ever since then, I love teaching, and now I realize that I wish I would have gone straight into it. But other than that, I feel like my journey has kind of informed the kind of teacher I am, so I'm also thankful for that experience.
Well, one, because I love learning, and so I want my students to love learning. I want them to see the value of education, just kind of inspiring them to be more and learn more and do more.
I was a Peace Corps volunteer, and I saw firsthand what education can do for the economic livelihood of a family and of a person.
For selfless and selfish reasons, selfishly, I love the instant gratification of seeing the look of epiphany on a student's face after a mini lesson or after some practice. The kind of I get it. And I'm like, yes, I helped that. I facilitated that. That's amazing. Thank you so much for bringing meaning into my world. I think that's some of the selfish reasons. I see that this is the field. Education, especially in schools, is where that my skills and my efforts should be placed right now. So I think through teaching, especially that in the English discipline, students will be able to become critical participants of their community. I want them to know that whatever their choices are, I want them to be very intentional and reflective and understanding.
I remember this day very clearly. It was in October Festival, and we were sitting there after it that was helpful. And I remember sitting with everybody and saying, we can change this. I know we can do this. If we want to get together and do this, we can do this. And so I felt very empowered, felt like very much of a catharsis of finding people who, and not necessarily doing what teachers usually do, which would be complain and begrudgingly do the things, but felt animated and activated to actually commit to making a change.
I feel like we all have similar thoughts about how we could be better teachers, and we're all very reflective practitioners. And I feel like we all realize that it's not necessary that we create everything on our own. If you hear the term, you don't reinvent the wheel a lot in teaching. I feel like we've been doing a lot of that. And so I joined the group simply, at first it was more of just a place to kind of just express how I was feeling, and it was kind of cathartic because other people felt the same way I did about feeling stressed, feeling maybe ineffective at times. But then realizing that it wasn't us that we're being ineffective, but the system was just the system that we have right now, because we haven't managed it greatly, meaning the teachers, or haven't had the time to manage it correctly. It's caused that stress, and so I joined because simply to express myself. But then it kind of morphed into like, how do we make it better? And that's why I think it's been really positive, because it's not just been, us getting together and complaining about what we saw wrong with our department. It was more of a like, okay, so what can we do to make it better? And who better to make the department better than the teachers themselves?
One of the obstacles I feel that is impeding me from doing my best right now is not being taken seriously, not being asked for my opinion. I feel when I'm not directly and intricately involved in the things that I am supposed to be involved in, then I disengage. And so I feel like that is something that I felt that I have expressed that has not been taken advantage of.
I'm held accountable only part of the time, and I think I know myself a little bit too much to know that that's not enough to push me.
I feel like, in my personal opinion, there's some wasted time in there, because you're always going to have to account for students coming in late, students having to take restroom breaks, and just the fact that 90 minutes is a long time for any student to sit there or be focused on one task. So you have to really do a great job of managing transitions and transitioning between activities and doing multiple things in one class. I mean, I honestly think that I have less time to teach my kids than I would in another building that doesn't modify block. Not to say that can't change. I just think that there needs to be more a specific focus on how do we teach the 90-minute block every day properly.
I felt that it took too long for me to get to know other people in the English department. I don't think it was until about like October that I started to know people by their first name, for us to be on a first name basis, and I felt that for the majority of the first semester I was teaching on an island. I definitely felt like if it hadn't been for me sharing a room with Casey during 2A, I wouldn't know another English teacher, besides maybe the one other one in my small learning community, and that made me a little bit sad. And I think that with me being a very social person, I think that had its negative effects on me. I definitely felt alone a lot of the time. It wasn't until Elizabeth, Casey, Sarah, Whitney, and I got together that I felt like cohesion within the English department. I definitely, collaborated with Sarah before, and I collaborated with Tim before, but I definitely felt like if I hadn't put myself out there, nothing would come of it.
If you want to take the extra time to collaborate with another English teacher, that's like, you have to figure that out and plan that. And like, I've done that in the past, but in reality, sustaining that kind of collaboration and time when it's not built in and when you're not seeing each other consistently is really difficult. I think it can happen in content. I think it can happen on your own time if like individual teachers take that initiative, but outside of that, I don't think there's a lot of opportunity for collaboration. I'm doing the best I can, but like, I know it can be better, and so like, it can be frustrating to me to like, I want my teaching and my curriculum to be better, but how do I make it better? No matter who's our English teacher in the building, like, there's the same like expectations and same rigor.
My hope is that a student can graduate from Wynot with 4 years of English under his or her belt and be prepared for college and not have to do remedial writing or reading or anything in the college level. However, to accomplish that, given the challenges of this area and this building, is we need to really come together as a department to make sure that English 1, 2, 3, and 4 are building on one another. As it is right now, I feel like we're teaching the same skills every year, but maybe just, I think the accommodations we're making for rigor are just, shorter deadlines, honestly. Shorter deadlines, maybe more complex text, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's the same skills, the same kind of essay, the same kind of writing, and I feel like that's not adequately preparing any student. What we're essentially doing is we're preparing a student to write a five paragraph essay their senior year. Well, that's fine, but what's going to happen when they go to Comp 101 at KU or wherever? They're going to be right behind. And that's what I want for our students. I don't want our students to leave and think, I'm not ready. I want them to leave and think I am ready to do whatever I have to do in college to succeed.
And like, I think it's been really helpful talking to you guys and seeing your point of view and your perspectives on what's kind of going on in the classroom and like, okay, how do we improve this? So I've learned a lot just to see your guys' heart for teaching and heart for the students.
I'm hoping that teacher-centered change becomes the focus of our high school and becomes a pebble in the pond and expands to the other high schools. I feel that teachers are the first defense. We see what's going on, and administration and teacher leaders, all well and good, need to see us as the experts and us as the allies instead of the trickle-down professional development. They need to see us as a resource to be developed and enhanced in order to best meet the goals that are being given to them.
We tried very hard to make it not a venting session like some of those conversations can become, but took the honesty and the observations and then put some power and research and collaboration and many, many hours of outside work into it to say, let's turn this into something positive and an actual change. You know, there were moments we were talking about these big ideas and it was overwhelming. There were times where I felt, you know, full of hope and so excited, and times where I just felt like I was struggling and just hitting the wall and not coming up with anything. But ultimately, all of those emotions, whenever I would leave a meeting, I would feel like I was actually really alive.
With the fact that we care really deeply about what we do. This isn't just, hey, we have all the answers, do this. It's more of a, we have evaluated things we need, things our students need, and we have some possible solutions. I hope that they take away the fact that we're ready and willing to collaborate with anyone, administration, other teachers, other departments, to help make ourselves more effective educators. And this is not like a negative thing, this is a positive thing, in that we really care deeply about this building, and if we did it, we wouldn't be here. That's what I hope that they take away from that. It would be a lot easier to just get into the rut of just doing the same thing every year and just going home at 3 not thinking about it. But instead, we've all decided that we care enough that we're going to spend time outside of class, outside of work, working on how to be better teachers. I feel like teachers are kind of like soldiers on the front lines of what we're doing, and I feel like we as people on the front lines have identified, after having worked with these students, what they need, and we see that there is a need for rigor, obviously. I think that there is no better people in the building to help create more rigorous classes than the teachers themselves. I also am very thankful because the administration in this building and the teacher leaders and all the leadership, they're very open to hearing new opinions and new thoughts. I'm very excited because I feel like this is kind of ripe for change almost, and I feel like we have staff that can do it, and then we have administration that's willing to help, and I feel like that's why I'm here, and I feel like why this group has come together, and this is what I hope can happen. I hope from here that we can come together and really make change that helps our students become better writers, better readers, better students, better people.